Welcome to Wellness for Real with me, Heather Heinen. If you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or beyond and want to stay strong, energized, and sharp, you are in the right place. From science-backed nutrition and hormone health to strength training, athletic performance, and evidence-based mindset tools to make real lasting change in your life. Now we are redefining what it means to thrive after midlife. Hey everyone, thanks for being here and listening. Welcome to Wellness for Real. If you have been with me a while, you might notice the new name, and I'm just going to take a minute to explain why things are shifting and what that really is going to mean for you. This podcast started as weight loss and wellness for real. And while weight loss is still something we're going to touch on, the emotional eating, the being able to figure out a way to live in the body you want to live in, that healthy body for the rest of your life. We are going to talk about that. There are things that I've just evolved on, and I know many of you have too. I'm in my 50s now, and so what really matters to me and to so many of the people I work with is living with strength, energy, clarity, and meaning. It's not just about shrinking our bodies, it's about expanding our lives. So this new chapter is about thriving after midlife, in midlife. We're talking real tools and strategies for building strength, boosting energy, supporting hormone health, and thinking in ways that help us just to live better, not just look different. So you're still going to get all the practical tips that I always try to do in my episodes, but we're going to zoom out to look at the whole picture: body, mind, purpose. I'm excited to take this new step forward in sort of this new theme with the podcast. So with that, I thought it'd be just really a good idea to kick things off with a topic I know so many of you are craving, and that is, how do I get more energy, like real lasting energy after 40? And so we're going to talk about some strategies that can really help bring that energy. And that can be very practical. Like I always try to do, give you those tips, tricks, tools that are really practical in strategy. Because remember, a lot of this is like skills training. We're really practicing the skills to get where we want to be. And remember, with skills training is pretty exciting because anyone can practice skills. Anyone can get to a place where they can really implement these things and get to where they want. Okay, so when I'm working with clients, whether they are my coaching clients or my therapy clients, often many of them are talking about wanting more energy. And, they're not necessarily looking to run marathons or to work 12-hour days. They just want to wake up feeling good, stay clear-headed through the afternoon, and still have something left for themselves or their families in the evening. So today, we're going to talk about 5 science-backed, real-world strategies that help you create real energy physically and mentally. And these are the exact tools I use with clients, and they do work. So number 1, you want to fuel first. So eat for energy. Don't just do the whole less eating thing. So many people, and especially women, get stuck in this cycle of under eating in the name of health or weight loss. This was me for years and years. If you've been listening to this podcast, you know that. So what's the problem? Your body thinks it's in a famine. It slows your metabolism. It messes with your hormones and just can really give you that foggy brain kind of feeling where you're not thinking clearly. You're kind of moody. You're tired. So you want to think about protein and carbohydrates. They both influence neurotransmitter production. So things like dopamine and serotonin, which really do affect motivation and mood. And low calorie intake can lead to low thyroid function, which really just zaps your energy. And what you want to think about here is that not just low calorie, but low in nutrients. So if you are on a very processed diet, which many of us, and particularly this country, are, that's going to be one of the first things you want to think about, because even if you're eating a very low calorie processed, highly processed diet, you are still going to have these same symptoms. So you want to make sure you're really taking in more nourishing food. And then beyond that, eating 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. It's about 5 ounces of chicken, could be a protein shake with Greek yogurt, maybe an egg with 6 egg whites blended with some cottage cheese, and then include things like fiber-rich carbohydrates. So think things like like sweet potatoes, quinoa, lentils, and healthy fats like olive oil and avocado. So avoid skipping meals and long fasts unless you're really dialed in, like really, really dialed in, maybe even working with some sort of coach if you're wanting to do that. For many of us over 40, we really need that stable blood sugar to maintain weight, to feel good. That really equals stable energy. So here's an example. I work with so many people who skip breakfast. I skipped breakfast for years. Many of us don't have that appetite in the morning, but instead of skipping breakfast or grabbing a bar, try some scrambled egg whites with spinach, black beans, maybe a little avocado plus a side of berries, right? You're going to feel fuller, clearer, and more grounded and have more energy. Okay, let's talk sleep. Can't get out of this without talking about sleep. So you want to sleep like a trained athlete. So after 40, sleep can really start to go sideways. So this happens a lot due to declining progesterone, disrupted cortisol rhythms, and even nutrient deficiencies. But we need sleep for energy, recovery, metabolism, and mental clarity. So deep sleep is when we really restore our mitochondria. That's our cells' energy factories, if you will. And that's where we regulate cortisol, we repair tissues. So just one night of bad sleep can really reduce glucose balance, it increases stress hormones, and lowers cognitive function. So here's what to do with that. You want to get 10 to 15 minutes of morning sunlight within an hour of waking. You've probably heard about this, but it really helps to reset your circadian rhythm. And then in the evening, you want to create a wind down ritual. So power down your screens 30 to 60 minutes before bed, or at the very least, turn them into red light mode. You can stretch, you could journal, read some fiction, nothing too crazy. Don't watch any major dramas, right? And then supplementation, you can consider some magnesium glycinate or glycine plus collagen at night to really support relaxation and deep sleep. So one of my favorite bedtime rituals, you turn down the lights after 8 p.m. I take my supplements, like I take magnesium threonate, L-theanine, and progesterone, and then I do some light reading, and then I listen to a yoga nidra relaxation from my Insight Timer app. It's a way to just, I'm listening to someone talk, I'm following along, but it's very relaxing and it gets my body ready for that deep rest or that deep sleep. And then the third thing I want to talk about is movement, but you really want to think about moving smart, like especially after midlife, the way we train matters more than ever. So gone, are the days of those endless cardio for the calorie burn. I used to do that in my 20s and 30s because that's what I thought was smart, but it's not so smart. What we need is smart, intentional movement that really builds energy and doesn't drain it. So strength training increases mitochondria, muscle mass, and metabolic rate. Walking, supports blood sugar regulation. Overdoing it with tons and tons of cardio really raises cortisol, which over time really burns you out. I had that personal experience. If you've listened to this podcast for a while, I've talked about that in the past. What you want to do instead right now with the research we have and what we know, probably best bet is going to be to strength train 2 to 3 times per week and focusing on compound movements, things like squats or deadlifts and push-pull exercises. Another great idea is to walk 10 to 20 minutes after meals to improve our insulin sensitivity. That's kind of what we're looking for in midlife, is improving insulin sensitivity. And then add one session a week of mobility or nervous system reset. So that's things like yoga or foam rolling. Could be light biking, walking, even dancing, things like that really help reset the nervous system. I've really, really gotten into mobility over the last few years and so thankful, I've taken that up. I'm almost 52. And so, and I love to rock climb and I like to mountain bike and I like to bike pack and all those active things. And I think that mobility piece has probably become one of the more important things in my routine in order to keep doing those sort of things that I love to do. So here's just an example routine, right? So Monday, you could do full body strength training. Tuesday, 20-minute walk plus some stretching. Wednesday, you could do some mobility plus some core workout. Thursday, another strength training workout. Friday could be a long walk plus some restorative yoga. Saturday, do something playful like bike, hike, or climb, right? And then Sunday, you take the day off or you do some mobility. Now, if you are an athlete, obviously that's going to look really different. But if you're not an athlete, you're just looking for that longevity and that health, that would be a great weekly schedule. Okay, number 4, we want to cut the things that drains our energy. We often think we're tired from poor sleep or diet, but sometimes it's really what we're carrying mentally that is draining us. And so cognitive overload, chronic stress, decision fatigue, they all deplete dopamine and really affect cortisol regulation. So it can leave you feeling physically exhausted. So even if you're not doing things that physically exhaust you, even if you're getting great sleep, you could be feeling physically exhausted just because of the mental, emotional burden you might be carrying. So what do? I like to think about it as sort of auditing your energy, what drains you versus what fills you up. So protect those inputs, right? So setting boundaries with social media, the news, especially right now, other people's drama, it all really costs your energy. So you really want to think about where your boundaries are with the input that you're taking in. And then you can use things like CBT techniques, like thought reframing, right? So instead of I have to do this, practicing saying to yourself, I get to do this, or I'm choosing to do this. That can really help shift mentally what's going on. And our thoughts create our feelings. So if we're thinking things like, I get to do this, or I'm choosing to do this instead of I have to do this, there's a different energy behind that that's going to show up in our bodies. So really reframing how we're talking in our head to ourselves or to others is super important to maintain that energy. So here's an example. If you're checking your email first thing in the morning and it leaves you anxious, you really want to set a boundary with yourself. No email until after your morning walk and coffee. That one shift can change your whole day. And then number 5, you really want to think about anchoring into purpose. And this one maybe surprises you a little bit, but it's really real. People who live with a strong sense of purpose report higher energy, better health markers, and more resilience regardless of their age. So studies show that a sense of purpose is linked to lower levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which contribute to fatigue and disease, and also increased levels of motivation, which is really related to neurotransmitters like dopamine. So here's an idea of what you could do. Start your day with intention. What do I want to feel proud of today? Align your actions, even small ones, with your core values. Do more of what lights you up, even if it's just 10 minutes a day. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's nature, maybe it's music, maybe it's connecting with others. So here, if one of your values is connection, it's just an example, you want to make it a priority to call a friend on your walk, even once a week. That small act feeds purpose, which fuels energy. Okay, so let's recap the 5 energy boosting strategies. You want to eat enough, especially protein, for stable energy. You want to protect and prioritize your sleep, just like it's training, right? You want to strength train and move with intention, not exhaustion. You want to cut the input drains and manage your mental and emotional energy. Might be setting some boundaries for yourself. And then anchor into purpose. It really is your most powerful fuel. And if you try even one of these this week, I promise you're going to notice a shift. Energy doesn't just show up out of nowhere. We create it through the way we live. And if you are thinking, yeah, I could use a little bit more energy in my life, it's definitely worth trying one of these strategies and kind of paying attention. Where did I notice some extra energy showing up when I did use these strategies? Okay, so if you found today's episode helpful, make sure to sign up for my free monthly newsletter. It is packed with practical tools, a high protein recipe in every issue, and exclusive discounts on products and services I love and trust and who support the podcast. So the link is in the show notes to sign up for that. It's just basically you go to my website, heatherheinen.com, scroll to the bottom of any page, and there's a little sign up thing. We can connect on Instagram. I'm at Heinen Counseling and Coaching. Heinen is spelled Heinen. On Facebook, you can find me just under Heather Heinen, and guess I'm on YouTube and TikTok, but I'm not really managing those things so much, but I'm there. If this resonated, please rate and review the podcast. It helps more people find the tools to age with power, with purpose, and intention. Thanks for tuning in to Wellness for Real. Don't forget to sign up for my free monthly newsletter. It's packed with tips for real well-being, high protein recipe in every issue, and exclusive discounts on products and services I trust. You can find the link in the show notes at my website, heatherheinen.com. Let's stay connected. Follow me on Instagram at Heinen Counseling and Coaching, on Facebook at Wellness for Real, and catch more content on YouTube and TikTok. And if you're enjoying the show, please rate, review, and share it. It really helps others find the support and inspiration they need to thrive after midlife. The information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or health goal. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Heather Heinen or this podcast. By listening, you agree not to use this content as medical or mental health advice for yourself or others.